I decided to change it up a little bit this week, and instead of taking out my normal setup, I took out my 9-weight, my permit rod. Still basically the same from there, 12 foot of taper 0x, 4 feet of fluoro, and then the 3 flies was the carp slider, the carp maul, and the BS semi-seal leech. Depending on the areas I was at, there was a lot of crayfish in this area. This is all flooded areas around a river and then on the river. So this is one of those situations where you can kind of see how muddy this is. It's fairly difficult to see these, but you can see nervous water. So this first shot right here, as it got closer, I could see the fish. I drop it in front of him here, and then you see the turn right there and the eat. You had to be pretty close. See the fly coming in right next to his head there. He was kind of going the other way, but he just caught it barely, and then he turned and came back and ate. Again, to the side of the head where the eyeball can see it. It can be slightly behind the head is a good place to put it. And the reason I took the 9-weight is these are big fish. I was out here a couple of weeks ago in some flooded fields. This week I decided to go and do some more exploring. They're all areas I've never fished before and got into some fantastic fish. So this is another flooded area. It's actually on the river itself. The carp were moving up into these reeds. You could kind of see him moving around in there. You can see I'm trying to get it on him as he's coming out, but realistically, I had to wait for him to get past this little last set of reeds. Look how close he is to me now. I was hoping to get it on him before he got to right there, but he kept coming, and then right there you see the charge and the big eat right there. Yeah, and this is a big fish. I mean, it freaking looks like a shark in the water right here. Yeah, that put the 9-weight to the test. What's funny is a lot of times with these bigger fish, for sometimes it's almost like they don't know what's going on. Like something's just kind of pulling on them until they decide to just absolutely explode and take off. And yeah, like I said, this is a big fish. This is a fish that's pushing 30 pounds. In the area that I fish, you know, this isn't that far from the record for our area. You know, Utah, we don't get a lot of fish over, well, the record's 32 pounds. And yeah, this fish is just under that. So this is similar to the last shot. This fish is moving up along these reeds. This is on the river itself in the flooded area, moving up along the edge here. This is another big fish. Now for the last one and this one, I am using that the semi-seal leech. I showed at the beginning, unweighted, so it's a very light fly. So that's kind of why I can get away with dropping it in as close as I do here. I mean, zoomed in like that, you can see the commotion it makes, but it's really not very much. And then this, unlike the other one, the moment I hooked into this one, he exploded, screamed out almost 100 feet. And then he ends up down below here, down to the left, is where the main channel of the river is. He eventually ends up diving down in there. And then I gotta get on my paddleboard, and here I go chasing after this fish. Get all the way over here. He's still on. I finally get him worked all the way back. You know, I kind of had to let pressure off when he got around it. And then, so this is still me trying to untangle there. And yeah, it was a good fish. This one probably went 17 or 18 pounds. Big fish. Again, in this flooded area, right? This is just working along the main channel up into these reeds on the side, an area I've never fished before. There was a lot of them cruising through like this. Now, I had to get the fly incredibly close for most of these. I mean, within 2 or 3 inches of the face. Once it got there, I could kind of jig it or pop it a little bit and give it some motion, and that seemed to trigger a strike. sometimes on the drop they wouldn't eat it, and then I would move it just a little bit, and then they would eat it. But you had to be really close. Now, that is the case anytime you're in less than clear water. You know, you got to have it close. All right, so this one right here, this is cruising in the main channel. So this is before he comes up into the flooded area. There was actually a couple cruising along here. And so I waited till I could get a little shot on one of them. They're really hard to see. You can actually see one just below the boat right there that's just like sunning itself. I don't know why it just sat there. I did put it in front of it because, I mean, you're going to try. And it didn't react at all. And then I just watched for this guy to come over. And there we go with the eat. And then it immediately kind of dives out into the channel and gives me a pretty good fight. This is a little bit smaller fish. But just kind of a cool setup how I was approaching the fish here. Again, in a completely new area that I've never fished before. This is another fish up in this flooded area in these weeds. It's really difficult, right? Because you have this short window to try to land the fly in. You don't want to land it right in front of him or right on his head, or a lot of times that'll spook him. I actually think he may have tried to eat right there. I couldn't tell for sure. And then you watch on this cast, I actually end up hanging up on the bushes just a little bit. And then I popped it forward. Finally comes off, and it like landed and then floated right down in front of him perfectly. I mean, that's more luck than anything, but you know, I'm just trying to work it in there to be able to drop it in front of him to trigger a strike. And finally it came off that branch and then landed just right, and then you see him come forward and eat it. And then most of these guys are pretty smart, and they kind of know where the main channel was, or they would work their way out there, then dive down into the main channel, and then I'd have to fight them back into the shallows to land them. This one wasn't a real big fish, but still a nice, 10-pound type carp. Great, healthy, wild carp. This was one of my favorite shots of the day just because of the whole setup here. This is actually just off the river in an old channel that's been carved by the river. See this carp here? He's got his head tilted down just a little bit. He's not moving a whole lot, but he is feeding. And then you watch the drag and drop right here. And it'll be easier to see on the next cast. This is just so like perfect drag and drop. So halfway past the fish, drop it in, you see him turn his head there, and then immediately eat. But you'll see, like, he didn't have to move forward, he didn't move anywhere. For a fish like that, that's not moving very much in water that's dirty, that's really what we have to do. That fly has to come down so close to their face that really all they got to do is lift their head a little bit and suck. If they have to do any more than that, a lot of times they won't do it. And then me being cute here about broke my rod, the 9-weight. But anyway, I ended up surviving it and then getting him landed. And this is another good fish in the double digits, probably 13, 14-pound fish. So this is a big flooded field next to the river that I just kind of went out and waded through. And you'll notice on this one again how close this has to be. In fact, the cast you just saw there was really close and he didn't see it. And then I cast it again, drop it in there, and then you see him move forward and eat. But watch how close that is. Right there, right next to his face. And then he turns and then he eats it. Again, in dirty water like this, having it placed, it's hard, but you got to be so close. Clear water, the carp are going to be more forgiving. They can just see the fly further away. Yeah, they're easier to spook, and there's drawbacks to clear water, but they will chase a fly much further than they will in this kind of dirty water. And then again, I like black. Black is the most visible color in this off-colored water. And so this actually, both of these last two were on a carp maul, which is a very visible fly. Part of the reason that I tie it the way I do is a very visible fly. And as it falls, the rubber legs kind of expand out and it making an even bigger profile and movement as it falls to try to capture the fishes. attention as it falls. It's not the best fly as a fly to sit on the bottom, but it is a great fly to try to trigger strikes. So for this shot, I've got two carp that kind of cross paths right here, one kind of going up to the left and one coming down towards the bottom right. You can see the darker back on this guy. Again, this is difficult to see the fish here, but I perform the drag and drop, cast past the fish, and then bring it over, and then you watch I do a little jig right there and then re-drop. And then I actually wasn't sure again, but I was doing the jig again, and then that's where I felt that he had eaten it. You know, sometimes we can't tell. He didn't make any motion until I set the hook that really let me know that he'd eaten it. I couldn't tell for sure, but that's another advantage to continuing to move the fly just a little bit in order to trigger a strike. And it can be incredibly subtle. Obviously, in that situation, my fly ended up right in front of him, so all he had to do was open up his lips and suck it in. So again, this one there, this is another really dirty water situation. You saw the fly come by him there. He didn't see it. I cast it over again here, drop it right on him. He turns left and eats. So watch the fly come in here right next to its head, and he drops down right there next to his face. And then it kind of pulls away from him and he chases just a little bit. But as it drops down right by him, that was probably within an inch or two of his eye. He saw that, and then he turned and he came over and chased that fly and ate it. All right, so this is in another flooded field area. What I'm actually doing right here is I'm looking for carp that are kind of giving me the right angle. These two are both kind of away from me, and I have a couple others that are down to the right of me, and I'm kind of just waiting to see which ones are going to give me the best angle. So one of them turns to the right and goes away from me. The other one turns left and comes towards me. Once that one turns to come towards me, he presents a really good target. And now again here, watch the drag and the drop. Drops in right in front of his face there. He barely has to move to come over and eat it. Again, dirty water. It's got to be close. That 12-inch dinner plate really drops down to like a 3-inch dinner plate in dirty water. You can still absolutely be successful. There was great fish out here, a lot of really big fish, but my window for success shrunk significantly, and that can be really frustrating. The good thing about it though is in this kind of dirty water, you can get away with multiple casts a lot of times without spooking the fish, as long as you don't plop something down right on top of them. I recommend using a light fly. The longer that fly can hover as it comes down in front of their face in this dirty water, the better chance you'll have of triggering a strike. There are certain times when a fast sink is good, especially in clear water. I like faster sinking flies. But for this kind of stuff, if it can float down and flutter by their heads, you have a way better chance. They're there. This is in this field again. I have another one moving shallow. It's in the bigger shot. I really have to try to get it. It's just impossible. Right across the top of his face on the side. Again though, notice how absolutely close it has to be for this kind of water. Really cool feature. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Big fun. My window has been successful. Well worth it. Go out there and do it again. that in mind in dirty water. It adds a serious layer of difficulty. All right, this is a little flat right off the river. So there's a little bit of water that trickles in above it, and then it kind of opens up. Not a lot of fresh, but a little bit of water that comes in from the top of it, and it kind of deepens out down towards the bottom right here. But again, notice how dirty it is. You can't see the fish very well. How close the drag and drop has to be. Right there, right in front of it. Little charge. Again, I know that's said it's overloaded. Can't stress enough that my window's tight. Dirty water. Part of life, I enjoy fishing in the water. It's still fun. That's it. Appreciate it, guys. This is kind of an overview of the area. You see all these little flooded side channels and flooded fields, and the carp are coming up out of this river out into all this, and just made for a great experience. Thanks for watching.